Bacon cooked. That's the headline across ESPN this weekend. It was shocking to see. Scott, I mean, I know that we talked about Sexy Bacon as a runaway favorite for the league. What are your thoughts after this first weekend? Has any of that changed in your mind?
Man, what's funny is, it happened on 9/11. Obviously in 2001 was kind of, that was the big 9/11. I think this was more shocking than the original 9/11. This was, I don't know. I've never had my jaw on the floor like this before. It was the last thing you would expect.
Yeah.
To see.
You kind of expect,
Wow.
I mean, I don't need to get into geopolitical. I mean, I know a lot of people have said stay off it. But, when I go on Twitter, I share my opinions, so I don't see the problem sharing them here. And you kind of expect it at some point. America's a big country. There's going to be a terrorist attack. I don't think anybody expected Sexy Bacon to be falling off the podium this hard, this early on in the season. So I do agree with what you're saying there. There is that live shock value that's kind of happening there. And of course, the damage, probably a little bit less than 9/11, but in terms of somebody like Sexy Bacon, it was a huge, huge blow.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny, too, is there's so many conspiracy theories around, the original 9/11, and, I think some of them hold water, like jet fuel.
I don't know if we need to get into that.
Steel beam. But
it was a plane that flew into a building.
Honestly, with how stunning this was, it almost seems like there might be something behind the curtain pulling the strings. Like, did SB potentially throw the race?
Oh, boy.
Why? He threw that bomb in front of him and just drove right into it. Marky Mark did that last year, but the difference between SB and Marky Mark, they're not even in the same, they're both stars, but I think we'd all agree that SB is just at a different level. So,
yeah, and
I don't know. You're trying to make sense of it, and it just, the pieces don't add
up.
The
thing is, I don't know if I necessarily agree with any of those conspiracy theories. It's been a long time coming. This is especially shocking. I don't want to minimize the shock that we saw this weekend with a third and a ninth. That's an absolutely shocking weekend for anybody's books, but I think we kind of have been ignoring the signs for a while. Sexy Bacon, for those of you who aren't familiar, just the first 2 seasons he was in the league, the only racer ever to break 200 points. He did it in his first season, 223 points, never off the podium. Just absolutely shocking stuff. 200 points in his second season, but after that second season, never stood alone on top of the podium since. Third season, he did tie in that first place position with Donald Hog, but he's never stood alone on that. And coming out of that final weekend, we thought that was going to be, he struggled on Royal Raceway. He struggled through a lot of those events. And we thought, okay, third season in the past, he's got an off season in front of him. That last event was just a fluke, but it doesn't seem like it necessarily was. And that's what's sort of concerning to see.
You look back at season 1 and season 2, you look at his points, it's just 15,
never
15,
off the podium.
12, 15, like he was on the podium every time. And I think, I look back at that last weekend of season 3 and, Donald kind of went untouched in terms of items and bad luck and things like that. And you think, it's just a one-time thing, but then this season starts off and, we see the highlight package is kind of more of the same. Yeah. SB's getting hit left, right, and center. Donald's kind of just cruising. And maybe there's some weight to what SB was saying about, God being pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. But, I know about that.
And I think we touched on in the last episode how he's really gaining popularity in kind of like the Rust Belt region with males 25 to 45. And, we've never seen it before with SB as the underdog. And we know that demographic of fans, they like to get riled up. They like to rally behind something. They like to, January 6th, they stormed.
Let's note the MK1 commissioner's office isn't stormed in the next couple of weekends.
But I think that's the energy. Now all of a sudden, SB's the underdog, and and we just see that energy coming from that his legion of fans, and it's just gonna. Man, I don't know what's coming, but you feel something in the air. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm thinking back to, a parallel with my life when I'm thinking about Sexy Bacon. I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's going to really recommit himself to the track and get serious about it. I'm excited about the rest of the season, how it's going to unfold, but I think about, between divorce 2 and 3, you go through the first two divorces so quickly. You know, I'm walking back into the court for with my second ex-wife, and the judge basically bangs the gavel. He says, you get the same alimony as before. He's seen me so recently. So, when that's happening, I'm joking with him. I'm saying, see you next Saturday. And kind of, we think that divorce number 3, 4, or 5 are coming right down the pipe. So I think it's the same with sexy bacon, that you get a little cocky. You feel like, this is just a given to me. And it's not until you start really reinvesting, getting back into the dating field, really getting on your hands and knees and begging another woman to marry you.
Why always on your hands and knees?
It's not relevant to this conversation, but until you really get out there and you say it's not a given that I'm going to get divorced again, that's when ex-wife number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc., just keep rolling in. So who knows? Maybe we're in
I'm a bit confused. Are you saying like when you bounced back, you were getting divorced like at a higher rate, or was that that things were going poorly when you're getting divorced at the higher rate?
Well, the divorce is tough, but I think the fact that you're able to get so many wives is what's impressive.
So like after divorce I think 2 and 3, there was that long gap, and that's what you're saying is analogous to SB losing. But then you recommitted to the dating scene, then you went like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it became like I was rolling down a hill and I'm just hitting ex-wife after ex-wife sort of as I tumble. I couldn't get out of my own way. So I think that it was something that there is that, people come to humps in their life and they got to start, he was going downhill and now he's in the valley. He's got to climb back up out of it. But eventually you get to the top of that hill again and you start going downhill and downhill and downhill. And it's really easy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only question is, are you going to be wearing one of those red hats that says "Make SB Great Again"? I've been seeing those all over.
Oh boy, definitely not. Definitely not.
Man,
so
those things are.
You might see me chest to chest with him, fighting him again sometime. And I mean, we got to move on to our next segment soon. But I just got to say that maybe there's something to the fact that I pounded him so hard in the parking lot, and looking into the stats that, he just hasn't raced the same since.
Yeah. What about that next topic?